All right, my friends, welcome back to another Preston Perspective. I'm actually really excited to share this one with you. Isn't it so pretty right now? So pretty. This actually brings me to one of the reasons I wanted to do this perspective is because of the overall scenery and cinematography of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Have you heard of the Lord of the Rings? Are you familiar with the books or the movies? Well, I want to share with you today my perspective. I mean, it was nominated for a Best Picture after all. My perspective on Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and why I believe that it is superior. All right, so I have my laptop because I love these movies. In fact, I just watched all three of them in September, and I sat down with my laptop and took notes about episode 2. And so I don't even know where to start. The action, the drama, it has some good laughs, you know. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard, right? It's so good. It gives us the tension that makes Return of the King even worth watching. You can't just go from the Fellowship to Return of the King. You have to have Two Towers. As my wife likes to say, it's the meat, right? So there's so many different things. You have new Gandalf, the tree shepherds, you know, the Battle of Helm's Deep. We're introduced to Rohan. So let's just kind of start with like the music. I love the Lord of the Rings soundtracks. I would actually classify the Two Towers, Fellowship of the Ring, Return of the King. I will just listen to these on the road. I'll listen to them in my office. I'll listen to them when I'm playing Lord of the Ring based games, either card games or board games. I love the score and the soundtracks of the Lord of the Ring movies. But now that we've kind of gotten that out of the way, let's just kind of walk through the movie quickly together. If you haven't seen it, spoilers, but real quick, this movie is PG-13, all right? So, children, if you're watching this, your parents have the choice of what you get to watch and when you get to watch it. They know what you can handle. They know what's best for you. So I'm not like endorsing this movie, but I am gonna give you some of my thoughts on this movie, this well-known movie, well-known books. All right, so right off the bat, it starts off so smooth, picking up after the Fellowship of the Ring ending. And it gives us this little dream sequence, kind of recapping this major thing that happened in the first movie, which is important to know later on. And then we get lambus bread. Oh, look, more lambus bread. We also meet Schmeagol, or Gollum, who used to own the ring, and it started to like change him, right? And he refers to the ring as my precious. So if you've ever heard that, it's a Lord of the Rings reference, my precious, right? Then we are introduced to the land of Rohan. Guys, with the music, my literal alarm to wake up in the morning is Riders of Rohan, because it comes in and it starts to build and build and build and build and build, and then I am awake. It's not like a shock and awe alarm. So we're introduced to the land of Rohan, and we see actor Carl Urban. And this is probably one of my favorite Carl Urban characters, other than how he portrays a young Bones or McCoy in the newer Star Treks with Chris Pine. Then we get the line, meat's back on the menu, boys. Pippin and Merry, two of the hobbits, run into the forest and they meet Treebeard. He's a tree ant, or a shepherd of the forest, which is so cool. He is 14 feet tall, and he is actually an animatronic puppet. Not CGI, a puppet. And he is voiced by the same actor who voices the dwarf, or not voices, he's voiced by the same actor who plays the dwarf Gimli. Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn track Merry and Pippin into the forest where they find an old friend, Gandalf the Grey, who we all thought fell to his death in fellowship, and that's actually the dream Frodo was having that kind of recapped that major thing that we talked about. Then they go see Theoden, king of Rohan, who is under the spell of darkness. And it's a really cool scene. So they have their weapons taken away from them other than Gandalf's staff, which is his walking stick. And so Gandalf starts to approach the king. And so here come all these soldiers, right? And Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli with no weapons, like fight them off and stop them, like with their bare hands. Super cool. And so Gandalf walks up to the king, rips off his gray cloak to reveal that he is now Gandalf the White, and he breaks the spell over the king, and he saves the king, and it's just like one of those moments. This Two Towers is full of those moments, and it's so cool. And right before our eyes, the king begins to get his youth back. Super awesome. Super awesome. Andy Serkis's performance is top notch. He's the one who plays Sméagol and Gollum, especially all the scenes where he is arguing with himself. They are incredible. Like, I just have nothing but appreciation for those. When the armies of elves show up at Helm's Deep, it gives me chills every time. All right, and it's another like, yeah, the elves are here moments, right? And they all post up. All the archers are ready. They've gotten all able-bodied men and young men and teenagers, and they have their armor and their swords and their arrows and all that kind of stuff. And here comes this giant army of orcs, right? Like 10,000 orcs, and like 300 people at Helm's Deep. Sounds a little familiar, 300 versus 10,000. Anyways, and so they are all like, and they're all chanting, right? And they're just waiting, like the orcs are waiting for them to make the first move, and the humans and elves, and one dwarf, are waiting for the orcs to make the first move, which means they could have stalled and waited for, or gave more time for Gandalf to get there at first light on the 5th day. But this Joker could not hold the tension of his bow, and he let it go, and right into an orc. The orc fell, and it started the whole battle. All right? The whole battle. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Okay? Well, before the battle starts and they're all showing up, Gimli says, "What's going on?" And Legolas replies, "Should I describe it or get you a box?" That's funny. There are just some of these like interactions between Legolas and Gimli that are just so good. The battle begins, and this is where Legolas and Gimli begins to count. And Gimli's like, "I'm at 2," because he has this axe. And Legolas has his bow and arrow and 2 swords. And Legolas is like, "And I'm at 17. Already at 17, so great. All right, we also get this really cool clip during the battle. How cool was that? He just slid on his shield down some stairs. When Gandalf shows up with the Riders of Rohan, it's another moment. When the tree Ents attack Isengard, it's awesome. With a little bit of humor. You see this one tree catches on fire, and then they break the dam open and all this water comes in, and you see this tree run and just puts its head right in the water. Like, good thinking, tree. At Helm's Deep, since Gandalf shows up, the orcs begin to retreat, and Helm's Deep does not fall. The movie begins to come to a close with an encouraging speech from Sam, and that's how we're going to end. So, do you guys agree with me that Two Towers is the best of the three? Do you enjoy the soundtrack of Lord of the Rings? Drop it in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. And as Samwise says, there is some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for.